So I think we might want to start because we asked you to join us only for 1 hour, not more, because I believe even working from home office, it's like a lot of things to do because I start my work at 8 a.m. and finish at 10 p.m. because you're all the time at work, right?
Well, not all the time, but it's a job which asks a lot. So there's always something either to work on. It's from early in the morning until late in the evening, and normally I visit shows and concerts during the evening as well. So yeah, it goes. It takes a lot of effort.
Yeah. Do you visit online concerts at the moment?
Well, of course, I do miss the concerts. It's a very strange time for everyone, I think, in out there sitting at home, and I think some countries are really facing strict rules. For example, in Italy and France, here in the Netherlands, it's a bit looser, but the streets are empty, the shops are closed, apart from the supermarket and maybe the bakery and. Some other food shops are open, but I think the majority, I think we're all facing the same problem. But again, to answer your question, yes, I do miss live music a lot.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for joining me for this talk because we are super curious about this new opportunity for Ukrainian artists as well, along with the rest of the Europe. So today we have the jury member of Music Moves Europe Talent Award, Роберт Меєрінк, if I'm not mistaken.
Very good.
Yeah, my Dutch is perfect, okay?
Yes.
And also you are head of a program and booker of Eurosonic Noorderslag. So this is like basically the biggest European conference and showcase platform, which takes place every year in January in Groningen in the Netherlands. And this is 100% European showcase, which gives a lot of opportunities for young musicians. So thank you very much for agreeing to talk about the awards and also a little bit more about the Eurosonic itself because it's closely connected. So can you please tell us a little bit more about the idea behind Music Moves Europe Talent Award? Because this is basically a new award, only 2 years old, right?
Yes. The META stands for Music Moves Europe Talent Awards, and it's an award by the European Commission, by the European focusing on new talents, focusing on new music. Eurosonic, in close cooperation with partners such as Reeperbaan, but also many other parties like Impala, the independent record labels from Europe, digital music platforms such as Spotify, Deezer, to name a few. The European Broadcasting Union is part of it. I think it's a very young prize. We organized it for the second time earlier this year, and well, of course, it's the main focus is to gain attention by an audience in Europe and abroad, and of course gain attention. Focus on the music and gain attention for the artists involved by hopefully a great media coverage and hopefully music lovers.
Why do you think the European Commission decided to create or reinvent this award? Because basically we have quite a lot of European showcases. So basically this is the place where young artists can perform and have some attention.
I think it's if you look at the development of an artist in general, it's very hard to step up, to start a career, to gain listeners, to build an audience, so to say. And therefore the European Commission in the past organized a prize called the EBBA Award, the European Border Breakers Award. But they ended it 2 years ago, and they thought it was time for a new award. And So in fact, this is, well, not the official follow-up, but it's a very different price, the Meta, and with a very different focus. It focuses more on the artist himself. So there are budgets involved, also thanks to the partners involved, which literally goes to the nominated 16 artists. So they all win prizes, so to say. And I think it's very important that there is a prize like this. Normally, prizes are handed out to more known, more artists who already have a long-running career or maybe a successful career. The Meta is very much focused on ex-artists in an early stage of their careers, trying to give them that little bit of extra, not only financial wise, but also media wise, and promoting by the partners involved, of course, trying to reach a new audience. So I think it's a very interesting prize. Last but not least, it's, if you look at the artist development from, in a way, you can look at an ecosystem, for example. I think this is the first step of an artist. So an artist is awarded for their first step outside their country or maybe in their career. And I totally am behind this idea, and I very much like this idea.
I believe that Euro Commission in general is looking into music sector pretty good at the moment, because we have quite a lot of opportunities to apply for pilot calls through Music Moves Europe, like action, let's say. And now all the applicants from 41 countries can get the support and do the projects for co-production and co-creation. And also the second call, which is still open, is music education and learning. So basically, all these emerging talents, they might have quite a lot of support. But how did it went with the award in general? Basically, it was initiated by Euro Commission, and they came up to you because they knew that Eurosonic is pretty huge. Or it was your also idea that you have to invent something even more, even brighter at Eurosonic, apart from all the showcases and all the networking possibilities for 34 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Almost. Yes. Almost 35 years. Next year we celebrate the 35th edition.
Yeah, so what was the idea? Like, was it initiated by European Commission, so they
Yes.
understand that the music's supposed to have support?
I think within the program of the European Commission called the creative, the whole creative focus the European Commission has, they asked to come up with good ideas, and Eurosonic wrote a call, made an ideas. We, if you compare this prize again with a prize such as the EBA's, this prize is much more connected to an audience, to the so-called music industry, consisting of bookers, creative directors, artistic directors, journalists, festivals, venues. It doesn't matter. I think there are almost 800 voters in Europe voting for new talents. Apart from that, we have a dedicated jury consisting of a very diverse people with a different background, I would say. And again, I think thanks to the group of representatives such as Impala, the Digital Music Europe, I forgot to mention Soundcharts and also Cubus. I already mentioned Spotify and Deezer, but also the members of Europe, a very important association of the European festivals, Live Europe. That's an organization which focuses on the collaboration between venues in Europe. And we have another one, let's see, IMMF. I'm sorry, last but not least.
Mhm.
And the IMF, yeah, that stands for the International Music Management Forum. That's it's what is it? It's a global network consisting of artist managers, representatives. It's either independent or collaborative companies. But I think, having said this, I think it's very, very good to see that this prize is literally structured into the music industry itself, and that the framework of this prize is made by these people. So you can look at it as a puzzle of Europe. It's not that a jury member says, "Oh, we do like this band. Let's put this band into the 16." No, we create before we hand over the shortlist to the jury members, because they only receive the last 16 selected nominees. Before we create a very large list, a huge list, I would say, consisting of almost 1,000 acts. We try to scale it down to 500 and so on. And the measurements are based on not only the votes, that's a very important input and selection criteria, but also in regards to the ESNS charge, which is a charge based on the behavior, so to say, of the individual charge of the individual European broadcast members.
Mhm.
So all the public radio stations in Europe, they have a chart, and we analyze this chart, and the blueprint of this chart is visible in that's more or no, not more or less, that's the ESNS chart. So we monitor also the charts, we monitor the via radio monitor the digital plays, and so on. We have a few other measurements. So altogether, you can imagine this is a lot of work. Two of my
Oh,
colleagues
yeah.
take care of that. Because I'm head of the jury, I have nothing to do with that. I leave it in their capable hands. And so it's very interesting to see that at the end of the process there are 16 artists, and the way the prize is structured is also that we avoid to have, for example, two nominees from Germany. So we only can have one nominee from Germany. We're trying to keep that balance in Europe, try to involve the countries, try to give a solid overview, a good overview of the current upcoming new talents in Europe.
Yeah, we will come back to the award itself a little bit later. And now I would like to come back a little bit more to the criteria which a young artist is supposed to meet in order to be nominated. Because at the moment I'm at the website of Music Moves Europe Talent Award, and basically the whole criteria seems a little bit complicated from the first sight. So I would like to build like step-by-step instruction, let's say, for young artists, what kind of like requirements they're supposed to meet. So the first one is the easiest one, is to be from one of Creative Europe countries. That's easy because it's 41 countries who participate in the program, and nice news, Ukraine is part of that. So basically all Ukrainian artists may be also selected somehow if they meet also the next criteria. So basically the first release is supposed to be not older than 36 months old. So basically it can be EP, LP, it doesn't matter. It's just supposed to be released not older than 36 months. And the statistics is going to be taken from Spotify. Again, in Ukraine, we don't have the Spotify at the moment, but through the digital distributors, it's pretty easy to have your music all over the world, including Spotify. So I think this is the way to go.
Yeah.
Then the artist needs to have a tour track record outside of his or her home country. So basically, you have to play live concerts somewhere abroad in Europe. And also, no more than one artist from each of these countries are going to be nominated. So basically, the criteria is strict but also fair in order to meet like the most diverse scenario of all possibles. And I see solo careers of artists previously in a band are allowed. So basically, bands and solo artists, they are both applicable for this award.
Yes, that's
So
right.
this is how the whole criteria looks like. And then you have the first cross list. So basically, this is where all the mentions by you, all the people from business music world in Europe are involved in making suggestions of emerging artists, and like all those recommendations that are given to you. And it's like hundreds and hundreds of names. And I believe the award team is supposed to check them somehow, whether they meet all the criteria, because sometimes it may be even possible that the experts somehow don't really know all the details behind the artist. So I believe it's supposed to be double checked by the team as well.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, then you have a long list, and not only the recommendation are taken into consideration, but also the digital statistics. And this is where it's very useful to have the sound chart account. So this is basically the global real-time analytics like machine, which shows you all your airplay, market trends, social media platforms, web mentions of the band name. So basically, again, it's the opportunity for you to have all the data about the music project in one place, and to have some kind of transparency, let's say, to see whether you're as successful as the rest of the possible nominees.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so I got it right. Thank you very much for guiding me through all this criteria.
I have one point, but it's a detail, but I find it important to mention. Of course, Europe consists of many countries, and not every country has Spotify. And that's the reason why we are closely working together with Digital Music Europe. That's a umbrella organization which is connected to Spotify, Deezer, SoundCharts, and Cubase. Also, in order to cooperate with all these different networks, because we find it, of course, we are facing this as well. We faced this as well while we were setting up the criteria, and we find it really important not to rely on just one digital platform. That's not fair. It gives a wrong impression. And in many countries, Deezer is much bigger than Spotify, or the other way around. Or maybe there are other opportunities or alternatives for artists. And as this is a prize which mainly focuses on artists, it's fair to say that we not only are strictly married to one platform, but I wanted to point out that the Digital Music Europe consists of all these individual members involved. So we cooperate with all of them.
Yeah, and also one of the criteria which you consider is the ETAP members. Can you please tell us a little bit more what the ETAP is and why it's so useful?
That's I would say the backbone of Eurosonic. Eurosonic started a long time ago as a conference and showcase festival. A long time ago, I mean 35 years ago, and very smoothly it has developed as a platform for European music, and some younger colleagues, even who are working at our festivals, are asking like, why Europe? And I think there are many other festivals around the world focusing on all kinds of countries, but we really feel that we should stick to Europe because there's so much to discover in Europe. and it's important to understand. And even, now we're facing a big crisis in Europe. It underlines the importance to cooperate, to listen to, all these. Music is, I think, the most beautiful way to connect, to be connected with each other. And it's, of course, it's strange. It's beautiful first, but also strange that, for example, I live very close to the German border. Of course, I'm not a normal or an average musical consumer, but I know my neighbor does not anything of the German music scene at all. He can mention Kraftwerk and Rammstein, but that's it.
But it's like 20 years old.
Yes, and I think, yeah, he's 45 or so. That's okay, but it gives us a Eurosonic also still the motivation to focus on Europe and to work on Europe, and in order to stay connected, we feel that we are there to promote new and upcoming music, and therefore we came up with a special program called ATEP, that stands for European Talent Exchange Program. And in this program, many festivals in Europe and also abroad, so outside Europe, for example, Coachella, but many other festivals as well, are part of this program. And this program is based on the bookings of Eurosonic. The bookings of Eurosonic are not. I'm a head of program, and me and my colleagues do select the program based on local advisors. We closely work together. Eurosonic closely works together with the export offices. Some countries, they don't have export offices, but then we try to reach out to other parties involved. You can imagine the European, this can be promoters, but also venue promoters, festival promoters. But apart from that, we also have a close collaboration with the EBU, the European Broadcasting Union, that's based in Switzerland, but that's an umbrella organization of all the public radio broadcasters in Europe. They give suggestions to us, so sometimes even more than one or two or three, and we try to book these artists because we trust them. They're so-called, they are the connoisseurs, so to say, of their home, the local talents, and we trust them and rely on their advice very much. And we also rely on the locals working for the export office. But back again to the European Talent or Exchange Program, and the festivals, because it's all about that. I think if you play Eurosonic as an artist, you are selected to play Eurosonic. You play in front of a professional audience. Luckily, not 100%. There are many music lovers out there as well who are there to discover new talents. The majority of acts are unknown. I would say unknown to a bigger audience, unknown to most of people who attend Eurosonic. Exceptions there. Of course, if you come, you already know 30 bands or maybe more.
Yeah.
But so every professional has his own, I would say, knowledge and experience. And some people know everything, and some people are there to discover a lot. And but the bookers of these ETEP festivals are visiting and attending Eurosonic. So the artists, in fact, playing in front of a professional audience. That's the holy grail of Eurosonic. That's the I would say the description or the explanation of a showcase festival. Artists are showcasing themselves. They show the professionals, but also the media journalists, what they're able to do by hopefully giving a great and live show, and hopefully it can be a beautiful start of something good, something nice, hopefully maybe something beautiful. And then I'm talking about the career of an artist. So I think you cannot compare Eurosonic with a regular festival, because it's not a festival. It's really a conference and a showcase event focusing on the development of the young acts in Europe. And
sorry, to make it clear, so basically, if an artist would like to be part of this ETAP, let's say, network, and have this possibility to have it in their portfolio and have the possibility to play at Eurosonic in front of all these important people, they basically have to be chosen to play at Eurosonic. And how it's going to be organized, how an artist can play at Eurosonic?
That's very simple. Eurosonic works with submissions, so you can apply by online via our website. It starts at May 1st, and
pretty soon.
that's pretty soon. That's in 2 weeks, and we closed. The deadline is September 1st, so you have a couple of months to consider and to think about it if 2021 is your year to play at Eurosonic or not. And if you feel it's too early, then please don't apply. If you feel you're ready to play abroad, you have maybe you already played shows in the Ukraine or maybe some other countries. You already have a track record of maybe not only live but also recording and putting out music, and you really feel that there's something to gain in Groningen, because I think it's all about that. We need each other. We need to meet each other in the middle somewhere. And on behalf of me and my colleagues who take care of the bookings, I would say it's also our job to book the artists at the right time, because it often happens that a manager thinks like, my artist plays at Eurosonic, let's go, let's do it. And if my artist plays, he or she will play every festival. But it's not so easy. So sometimes it's better to wait, to build on your music, to build on your live show, to build on releasing music, to build on your profile, to build up an audience. And that's already very difficult. And I think to play a festival like Eurosonic, it's all about the year and the timing.
Yeah. So, okay, and a young artist has two scenario. One is to apply to play Eurosonic, or if they already at least somehow established, they can be recommended by the music professionals all over the world, and even it might happen that they will be in your short list for the award. And basically all the like finalists, all the 16 people who were selected out of those hundreds and hundreds of recommendations and sound chart statistics, they're also invited to play Eurosonic, right?
Yes. We thought it was very important that the 16, the short list of artists, so the 16, I call them all winners, because it's sometimes a bit weird to talk about winners, because if you have winners, you create losers. And I think these 16 artists we selected this year, but also last year, they are all winners because they do something special. They are outstanding for various reasons. And I think, of course, we work with the Public Choice Award, and of course, there are prizes we hand out, but we feel that we, in respect to all these winners, we invite them and we try to make that connection to the professionals, but also the media. So the visitors at Eurosonic, in order to promote not only the artists involved, but also the prize in general in the best way possible.
Yeah, so the timeline of the prize looks like this. So at the moment you are collecting all the recommendations, see the statistics and other stuff. And then in September, you will announce the 16 finalists at Reeperbahn Festival. And then the artists have like two ways. The first, the it's open the voting for public choice. So basically, me as a music fan can go on Music Moves Europe Talent Award website and like just vote for those artists whom I like.
Yeah.
And this is one idea. And the second idea is that jury members got all these 14 names who are the finalists. And this is getting even more interesting. So who are the jury members and how do you make the selection that's in Eurosonic somebody is going to get the award?
Well, in fact, the jury is, they are coming together. We are coming together. I'm head of the jury, but without voting. I'm only holding the agenda and listening to their opinions and asking their opinion, of course, and asking their votes. But the jury members consisting of the representatives of the steering committee. So I mentioned already all these parties like the Europe and the digital media platforms. So we have Katia Giampaolo. She's running a venue in Bologna, but she's there on behalf of the venues in Europe. We have Julia Goodsend. She's there on behalf of the ATEP festivals, and she books, for example, Lollapalooza in Berlin, but also Melt in Berlin and other festivals. We have Huey Stevens, represented BBC DJ and host, representing the European Broadcasting Union. We have Wilbert Mutsas. He's there on behalf of Spotify and the digital music platforms. And we have Björn Pfaar, which is my dear colleague, Boeker of Reeperbahn. But he's also part of the jury, but without a vote. But we are, we're discussing this together, and we leave it in their capable hands. And I can tell you, based on the conversation we had last Reeperbahn for this year's, so the 2020 edition of Meta, it's nice to see that everyone in his role as a journalist or a venue promoter or a festival booker has his own world and own view. And if you put these together and you sit with these people on the table, it's very nice and interesting to hear all these stories, and because they know a lot of music, their knowledge is incredible, of course, and it's excited to be part of it and trying to structurize it. But I think they are structured already with their opinion. So I think there were no big discussions. I think people were really, the jury members were really listening to each other and trying to measure their meaning in the right way in respect to the music and the artist development. And yeah, I think the result is online. I think that's the reason why my personal meaning is that I consider all these 16 artists winners, because everyone of the jury is respectful towards the musicians involved. And if they are the ones who have to choose 8 winners out of 16, which is, of course, well, maybe a bit, it not sounds a bit too negative, but it's a dirty job.
Yeah.
but it's a job.
Yeah, but it's still nice chances 1 to 2 to be selected, which is also
Yes.
nice. But also, why do you have like seven winners, right? Because they're divided into different genres, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's
Everybody
right.
has the chance. It's not. It doesn't mean that metal music doesn't have any opportunities to be selected.
No, when we started this prize, we really were focusing on loud music in Europe because it's so huge. It's big. There's a whole. There's so many young artists, well, artists in general, who play metal, all kinds of metal, Metal is divided in 100 subgenres, of course, but we found it very important to have a metal genre, and I think the nominees were great this year.
And also the website states that the award supports the artist with the European sound of future. What does it mean?
I'm sorry again, the website?
The website says that the award supports the artist with the European sound of future. The sound of future, what does it mean? So what are the criteria?
Well, there are no real criteria, but I think it's more a way to underline what this prize is. For many people, the artists, even these 16 artists, not all of them. I think, for example, I think there are amongst these artists, amongst these 16 artists of this year, there are quite a few acts who already make big waves over the past year. So they were really successful in 2019. And by really successful, I mean they played a lot of festivals. They were selling tickets in venues. They were popular either online or maybe via the radio, airplay. But again, to a bigger audience, the majority of these musicians are unknown. So I think it's also the way, if you talk about the future of music, we're trying to promote the content involved in the best way possible. So we are trying to create a platform and find a way to promote this music, and hopefully that this music will meet new music lovers anytime soon. So again, there are many exceptions there. So many professionals will look at this list like, oh yeah, I know them all. Oh yeah, or maybe boring. I know them all. I don't know how you look at it, but from my point of view, I think I really think that the majority of these artists did not break yet. So they are not on the level of Dua Lipa. And I think they really they are in I would say in an earlier wave of their career. So they need to make even more waves to gain more attention, to gain more audience, to gain more attention for their music. And I think the Meta and the whole Meta project is a tool in order to help these artists involved.
Okay, before we come to the questions from the audience, if we have any, so this is a kind reminder that you can write your questions in the chart over here. Can you describe how the award ceremony in general looks like, and what kind of prizes the artists get when the jury members decided for the best ones for this year?
Well, to answer your second question first, we decided when we started to build up, we decided to make prize packages, and all the members of the steering committee are having their own, contributing their own prize packages. So, for example, there are members of the digital music platforms. I won't mention them now all, but there are members who offer a writing course to the artist in London. So they fly the artist to London and they meet professionals there. And but there are also members who put money on the table, which the artist can be spent in order to record or to record an album, record music. The European Commission is putting a lot of effort in this prize, of course, because it's their prize, but also by handing over financial money to the artists involved. So that definitely makes sense. And I think this prize is built for, and also built on the idea and the criteria that the artist, if you are part of this selection, then you potentially can get something out of it. To answer your first question, which was how does the award ceremony look like? That's what's your question, yeah?
Yeah.
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 We decided because we found it really important to organize a prize, a physical prize, where the artists are invited, but we want to keep it short and smooth, and without the red carpet, but in a new style we created in a very close collaboration with a very respectable artistic director of the NNT, which is the Groningen-based Noord-Nederlands Toneel. That's the theater company of the local theater company in Groningen. His name is Guy Weitzman, and in close cooperation with him, we designed a award ceremony, and it was more focused. Did you attend it or not?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
It was
Yes.
gorgeous.
Yeah, we tried to create a I would say refreshing way of celebrating new music. We tried to open minds, and we tried to open eyes, and last but not least, trying to open the ears by focusing on these 16 artists with a fast running but smooth going and highly entertaining 15-minute award ceremony focusing on the music.
Yeah, it was really refreshing for the audience as well, because right after the ceremony, the artists are supposed to play, and basically you have to run back and forth from different bars and clubs to check as many of like your favorite artists as possible. So it's really refreshing during that time.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. I believe this is the last question from my side, and it's kind of tricky because I'm not sure whether you already have the answer or not, but I still have to ask it. So at the moment, the live industry is in a great decrease, and it's collapsed all over Europe. And basically, the artists are really heavily dependent on the number of live events in order to be chosen for the award. Do you already have some talks with the colleagues how it's going to be this year for the 2001 next ceremony?
Of course, we are, since everyone sits at home and the future is not looking that bright for live music events in general, whether you are talking about live concerts but also festivals.
Yeah.
We are forced to design more than one option in order to, organize Eurosonic in general, but also, of course, the Meta Award ceremony, and of course, thinking of the ETA project. So we very much still working on, these developments. We want a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D, and we work on these plans, well, right now. Well, not now, but that's part of my job over the past couple of weeks, and it will. Yeah, I think that's the main focus, to design these options before the summer. We decided to move on and to open the submissions, to stay positive, but also realistic. We find it really important to be flexible until the time we are, able to still organize plan B or C or D, because we very much rely on the Dutch regulations and the law in general, but not only the Netherlands, as Eurosonic attracts a lot of people from all over the world. It's very complicated to think. It's very hard to think and to expect that everything will turn into normal again. So yes, let's work further on these plans first, and hopefully we are able to share more with you shortly after the summer.
Yeah. Hopefully everything is going to be okay, and it also depends on us. At the moment, we're supposed to stay at home to overcome this strange situation. And I was a really great supporter of that initiative, Stay at Home, Save Your Summer, for the festivals and other stuff. Unfortunately, as I see, it's not happening anymore. But
Yes.
at least till the next year, we really have all the opportunities to overcome the situation. So let's do our best to make it happen.
That's the right spirit.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the question from the audience. Thank you for the interview. And what music genre has more chances to win the award? Let's say we play dark electronics and we have less competition than the pop sector. Do you have the numbers?
It's a good question. The way this prize meta is set up is that we decided not to wave the flags of the different genres, but behind the scenes, we are of course using tags and genres. And if you focus on the measurement itself and on the data, the input of all these professionals, around 800 people from Europe and all the different countries, the musical input is so diverse. It really consists of all kinds of genres, whether they are it's slick pop music or mainstream pop music, but also really dark wave, metal, electronic, maybe the more so-called niche genres, which are so. I think it's very important to notice that there is, of course, room for everyone, but it needs if one representatives who is able to vote for your band, it's definitely not enough to pop up in that list. So you need more. And I think then the question is, how can you make that step as an artist? That's the general question, I think, which is the most interesting point for the artist itself, but also maybe for everyone involved. That's of course trying to promote your music via the good channels, but also trying to gain digital plays, trying to gain airplay, trying to get live shows if the world allows it again. And I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
It sounds simply, again, I said it before, I repeat myself, but it's very hard.
Yeah. And the next question is connected to like label or booking deals, or the DIY artists can also do well regarding the award.
I personally, I don't like to diverse the DIY labels and genres of the so-called mainstream genres. Of course, the mainstream genres are driven, maybe artists are driven by the mainstream labels, the majority, not all of them. But there's room for everyone. Again, there is a lot of room. I think there are also examples of the last 2 editions of do-it-yourself artists who work mainly independent, but are either signed or co-signed with a recognized or maybe more known label a little bit later in their careers. But for example, a girl in red from Norway who won the prize, she's so in an early stage of her career still. She still is, but she was voted so many times by professionals that it's a proof that you can pop up and that people from the music industry or the music world are voting for an artist based on the music and not based on the fact that this artist is either signed to a major label or not. So again, please do do your best, whether you're do it yourself or mainstream. There is room for both parties.
Yeah, and also I would like to mention that there were pretty much a lot of girls at the awards, so I think it's
Yes,
kind of like encouragement. Go, ladies, you can do it.
yes, that's. I'm glad you noticed, because I think that was one of the jury talks that some member of the someone of the jury said, it's amazing how the females are beating the males, and I said, like, what? But hardly no one noticed that this was reality, that the majority of nominees were female artists, and that's not because they were female, that was because of they were measured and voted for and did a great job in their all on their own way. So there is, it's a very nice signal. It's a positive signal, I would say.
Yeah, nice to hear. Okay, so if you have any other questions, please do it very fast, because we promise not to keep Robert longer than 1 hour, and I think we already touched all the most important questions. The next step for artists is to apply to Eurosonic starting from May, and work
Yes.
on their digital profile, at least if they're not able to play live music. They can put a lot of efforts into their online media channels. I don't know, to have some songwriting camps online, some PR campaigns regarding their new albums. So this is also a lot of work to do. So this is your chance to spend this time effectively.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe we don't have that many questions at the moment, but still we already talked about everything. So hopefully we'll see even more interesting artists next year, and we'll see each other. We'll have a chance to hug each other and not to keep the like distance of 2 meters away. And hopefully some Ukrainian artists will open new opportunities for them as well. Okay, so the very last question, because we have the last one. Does the language is important? Do you prefer artists who sing in their native language or English? You know, the eternal question.
Well, it's a yes. It's it's a very good question. No, you don't have to sing in English. If you look into the bookings of Eurosonic in general in the past, we always prefer artists to do what they are doing, no matter what the language is. So please stick to your own choice, stick to your own way of creating and developing your music. I think that's the most important part. Don't copy anybody. I think we had some great artists playing over the past years. Recent example is Molchadoma, a band from
Belarus.
yes, yes, from Belarus, and they, of course, they were one of the highlights of this year's Eurosonic. People were talking about them, and and it's a great example that it does not matter what language you sing. We have a very long list of Molchadoma, so to say, that artists singing their native language without trying to sing in English. It doesn't matter. I think it's beautiful in the way things can be beautiful. So please don't change your behavior or your style.
Yeah. Okay, at this positive note, I would like to say again, thank you very much for having time talking to us and to opening some insights on the procedure of selecting the best European musical future. So hopefully see you at Eurosonic at the award ceremony
Hopefully,
next
yes.
year. Yeah.
Thanks so
And
much, Alona, for having me, and thanks for all the attendees for joining this meeting. Thank you.
yeah, and everybody stay positive and safe and healthy. This is the most
Please,
important thing at the moment.
please.
Okay, so staying in touch and have a nice day.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.